John and Andy, those were excellent Divrei Torah and meaningful. Now, John, you taught us about servant leadership, challenging us to find servant leaders in our world and to define leadership more subtly and closer to home than we might otherwise do. And Andy, you taught us about the power of remembering who we are, that it might even be the most important thing we do. And these two messages are particularly meaningful on this Shabbat Shuvah, as we stand between our New Year celebration and our Day of Atonement, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, as we engage in the most intense period of self-reflection, of responsibility-taking, of assessment about how we've been living and what specifically we need to repair. This is a time when we consider what we need to redress, what we need to change in our behavior and within ourselves. And when we stretch to find within ourselves the capacity to forgive, as the people around us are also looking inward and finding remorse and seeking to change. Now, Andy, you're telling us that in order to do that well, if we apply your lesson to this moment we're in, we have to remember who we are and where we come from. In remembering, we'll understand better who we're meant to be. Not in some abstract, blank slate kind of way, but in response to the strivings and the hopes of our ancestors and our own past. And recognizing that we are who we are because they were who they were. And just as we need to make our own way, our foundation is our starting point. And John, you want us to see leadership not just in the halls of power, but in the people around us and in ourselves. I mean, I'm taking your statement and moving it a little farther and saying, if the people around us can be leaders, so can we. And that kind of leadership that you want us to hold up is the kind that Moses displayed, of humility and of service. And rather than think of leadership as something done with a microphone, we might want to, you want us to look more carefully and see leadership being exercised in quiet ways all around us all the time, which means that none of us can say we're not capable of leading. None of us have an excuse in that case to evade the responsibility of leadership, no matter where we stand, no matter what our place is in the world. If leadership looks like resilience, if leadership looks like determination and hard work and sacrifice for your values, well then we can all do that, and maybe we all must do that. Now, Andy, the verse you focused on, Ve'ata kitvu lachem et hashira hazot, now therefore write for yourself this song, Deuteronomy 31:19, has been interpreted by our rabbis to mean not just the song we hear in Ha'azinu, which is the next parsha, as you taught us, and not even just the book of Deuteronomy, but the entire Torah is being described as this song that you need to write. And it's been interpreted to mean not just Moses being commanded to write the Torah down, but everyone. The verse says, lachem, all of you. And many of our ancient rabbis therefore see this as the last of the 613 commandments, a commandment applying to the whole Jewish people. In the Mishnah Torah, in the laws of Tefillin, Mezuzah, and Sefer Torah, Maimonides says, every Israelite is commanded to write a Torah scroll for themselves. As it says, now therefore write this song for yourselves, meaning write for yourselves a complete copy of the Torah that contains this song. Now, you quoted Jonathan Sacks. I'm also going to quote Jonathan Sacks. He sees this as poetic. He says, it was as if Moses was saying at the end of his life to the next generation and to all future generations, don't think it's enough to be able to say, my ancestors received the Torah from Moses. You must take it and make it new in every generation. So writing the Torah for ourselves is about remembering where we come from, but it's also about making it new. It's not sacrilegious to reinterpret Torah, to adapt it and to apply it in new ways. Quite the opposite. It is essential. We have to make it ours so that it speaks to us in the ways we need in our own time. And this is a time, right now, 2025, United States of America, when we need guidance. We need Torah. And we need to use Torah in order to lead, as you taught us, John, in all the ways you described, quietly and loudly, with determination and purpose as servants to a cause greater than ourselves, a cause for compassion, for human dignity, for fairness, for freedom, for justice, for love, for peace. It starts with very small acts. For example, seeing the people around us and looking for ways to make a small difference in their lives. A kind word or act for a neighbor, or being generous with someone who is vulnerable or afraid, or going out of our way to be loving to the people we live with, or looking for opportunities at work or at school to support our fellow workers or fellow students, or to be a voice of conscience in those places. And showing up in the public square to stand up for our values and for people who are in danger and for our humanity. Passivity, silence, neutrality, waiting and watching, playing it safe. These are not what Jews do in a moment like this. We lead, every one of us, with courage and with resilience. We don't have to do it alone. That network of the people around us that we're going to be filling with caring actions, that's going to be what keeps us safe. And that's going to be what keeps us strong. And community like this one is where we build the world we want to live in, just in miniature. No matter what is happening out there, we have control in here. And we can decide that everyone is equal, no matter where they were born or what their race is. We can decide that people of all genders and sexual orientations are equal. We can decide here that no one will be alone and anyone in need will be cared for. We can decide here to support each other to do courageous things, like accompanying asylum seekers when they go to court and ICE might be there, like standing vigil in the street now and if the National Guard comes, like marching for our values. We can decide that we will not be powerless, but together we will be powerful as we learn how to be profoundly nonviolent and consistently demonstrate our values in private and in public. The next big opportunity is the No Kings March on October 18th. No matter how old we are or how young we are, we can be there. And all along the way, we have the Torah that we make new in our generation. And we have blessings and prayers and Shabbat and holidays which give us structure every day and every week and remind us to be grateful and joyful and rested and to teach us to be wise. And that's how we're going to remember who we are. And that's how we're going to lead. And that's how we're going to enter into this coming day of atonement as we turn ourselves toward our inner truth, toward our souls, toward our God. And that's why I love these holy days. All of this repentance and atonement and forgiveness is just about coming home to remember who we really are and how lucky we are to be able to do good with our lives. Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom, Gemar Chatima Tova.